Level 1, Private. The bus pulls up to the base at 4 in the morning. You haven't slept. Your mouth is dry. Your hands won't stop shaking. The doors open, and someone is immediately screaming in your face. Not at you specifically. At everyone. At the air itself. At the idea that any of you exist and dared to show up unprepared. You grab your bag, you run, you have no idea where. Welcome to basic combat training. Within the first hour, they take everything. Your clothes, your phone, your name. You are no longer who you were yesterday. You are a private, the lowest rank in the most powerful military on Earth, and you feel every bit of that. The first week is a blur of pain and confusion. You wake at 5, you PT until your legs give out. You eat faster than you ever have in your life. You sleep like a dead man, and then someone is screaming again at dark 30, and you realize the nightmare doesn't end. But here's the thing. You don't quit, not because you're brave, but because quitting feels worse than continuing. You write letters home. You can't say how scared you are, so you say you're fine. You fold the letter. You don't send it. By week 4, something shifts. You stop dreading the mornings. Your body begins to harden. Your mind stops asking why and starts just doing. The drill sergeant calls you by name one day. Not to scream. Just to correct your grip on your weapon. It's a small thing. But it feels like being seen. You earn your first badge, you graduate basic. You stand on that field in uniform and you think, for the very first time, maybe I actually belong here. Level 2, Private First Class. You get to your first duty station and realize basic training was the easy part. Out here, no one is guiding you. No one is watching your every move. The structure is still there, but the hand-holding is gone, and you are very, very green. You make mistakes. Small ones. Forgetting to update your clearances. Being late to formation by 40 seconds. Calling a staff sergeant by the wrong title. These things matter here. They matter more than you think. Your room is a rectangle. Your world has shrunk to a 2-mile radius. You call home on weekends when the signal is decent. Your mom asks if you're eating well. You tell her yes. You're eating MREs more than you want to admit, but something is growing inside you. Quietly. Slowly, you start to understand the language of the army. The rhythm, the rituals, the unspoken rules. You learn who to trust and who to avoid. You learn that rank doesn't always mean wisdom, and that sometimes the soldier next to you is the only thing keeping you sane. You get your promotion to E3. It's 1 stripe. It feels like a mountain. Your chest is straighter. Your voice is a little steadier, and you realize you're not the new guy anymore. Level 3, Specialist. By now, you've been in long enough to know how things work, but not long enough to lead. You're in the in-between place, too experienced to be coddled, not senior enough to be respected. You're the engine of the army, and most days nobody thanks you for it. You do the work. The real, unglamorous, thankless work. Inventory at midnight. Vehicle maintenance in the rain. Standing guard duty in a freezing January. In a location you can't name on a map. But here's where your character starts to form, because it's easy to work hard when people are watching. The real test is what you do when no one is. Your buddy takes the shortcut. You don't. Not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because something inside you is starting to take this seriously. You start watching the sergeants. How they carry themselves, how they speak to the privates, how they make decisions under pressure. You're studying. You might not even know it, but you are. Re-enlistment time comes. You have a choice. You could walk away. Go back to the world. Get a regular job. Sleep past 5. Never polish another boot in your life. You sit with that option for 3 days. Then you sign again. You don't fully understand why. But your gut does. Level 4. Sergeant. The day you pin on those 3 chevrons changes everything. Not because the army changes, but because you do. Because now you are responsible for people. Real people. Young men who remind you of who you were at 18. Scared. Confused. Pretending to be fine. Your first moment of real leadership happens on a Tuesday morning when one of your soldiers breaks down in the locker room. Not physically. Mentally. He's been holding something heavy for months, and it finally spills out all over the floor in front of you. You don't have a manual for this. You sit with him. You don't fix it. You can't. but you stay, and you realize that leadership isn't about having all the answers, it's about not leaving. You're harder on your soldiers than you expected to be. You push them because you understand now what softness costs. You give them correction because you remember what it felt like when no one corrected you, and you made a mistake that could have been avoided, but you also protect them. Fiercely. When a senior officer tries to make an example out of one of your guys unfairly, you step in. Quietly. Professionally. Firmly. He backs down, and your soldier looks at you differently after that. That look, that's what this stripe is for. Level 5, Staff Sergeant. Your boots hit foreign soil at 0300 hours. The air smells different here. Drier. Older. Like dust and diesel and something you don't have a word for yet. This is your first deployment. And everything you trained for, everything you drilled and studied and rehearsed, is now being tested by a reality that doesn't follow the script. The days are long and the nights are longer. Communication back home is rationed. You get 15 minutes on a phone that cuts out twice. You hear your son's voice for the first time in 2 months, and he asks why you can't come home yet. You don't have an answer that makes sense to a 5-year-old. You tell him soon. You know soon is a lie dressed up as hope. Out here, you are responsible for a squad. 8 men. 8 lives. You know their allergies, their fears, their tells when they're cracking under pressure. You lose one, not to enemy fire, to himself. In his bunk, at 0200, and nobody saw it coming, and everybody blames themselves, and you carry that weight in a place that never gets lighter. You don't break. You can't afford to. Your squad needs a staff sergeant, not a grieving man, so you hold it together during the day. And you let yourself fall apart in the dark, when no one can see. Some battles aren't fought on a battlefield. Level 6, Sergeant First Class, you come back different, you know it. Your wife knows it. Your kids know it, even though they can't name what they're sensing. You sleep on the edge of the bed. You can't sit with your back to a restaurant door. You hear a car backfire, and your body reacts before your brain does. This is the rank where the army starts to cost you things you can't get back. You've been gone for so much of your children's childhood that strangers know them better than you do. Their teachers know their favorite colors, and their fears and their jokes. You're learning those things now. Late. Like studying for an exam that already happened. Your marriage is a negotiation, not a partnership. A constant, exhausting renegotiation of what you owe each other and what the army has already taken. But, at work, you are respected deeply. You are the senior NCO that younger soldiers look at the way you once looked at men who seemed impossibly experienced. You mentor a young sergeant who reminds you of yourself at that age. Determined. Hot-headed. More capable than he knows. You pour into him what someone never poured into you. That's the job now. Not just executing the mission, building the next generation. The army is bigger than any one soldier. You understand that now in a way you never could have at 18. Level 7, Master Sergeant First Sergeant. The title lands differently than any before it. Because now you don't just manage a squad. You are the senior enlisted leader of an entire company. 150 soldiers. Their welfare, their discipline, their morale. All of it runs through you. You are the bridge between the officers above and the soldiers below. And bridges carry the weight from both sides. Your commander is sharp but young. Sometimes his orders make tactical sense but human nonsense. It falls on you to translate, to soften, to execute in a way that doesn't break the men it's meant to lead. You wake before everyone. You sleep after everyone. You know the names of every soldier's spouse. You know which private is sending half his paycheck to his sick mother back in Georgia. You know which young sergeant is heading for burnout because you've seen that exact look in the mirror. You're a counselor, a disciplinarian, a father figure, and an enforcer. Sometimes all in the same hour. There are days you feel like the loneliest man in the room, even when the room is full of people who need you. But then, a soldier comes to you on a Friday afternoon, full uniform, standing at attention, and tells you that you're the reason he re-enlisted, the reason he didn't give up on himself. You send him away before he sees your face break. Then, you sit at your desk for a long time after that. Level 8. Sergeant Major. Less than 1% of the Army ever wears this rank. You've earned it through 20+ years of staying when leaving, would have been easier, of choosing duty over comfort so many times that duty stopped feeling like a choice and started feeling like who you are. As a sergeant major, you don't lead soldiers, you lead leaders. Your voice shapes policy. Your decisions ripple downward through thousands of people. When you speak in a room, rooms go quiet, not out of fear, out of something closer to reverence. You've been to more countries than most people can find on a map. You've buried friends. You've held men together through their worst moments and celebrated them through their best. You have seen the full spectrum of what human beings are capable of. The cowardice and the heroism, often in the same person, often in the same day. And now, at the highest enlisted rank this institution can offer, you sit in a strategic planning meeting, and you realize something profound. The Army is not a building. It is not a flag. It is not even an ideology. The Army is the people. The young 18-year-olds stepping off buses at 4 in the morning with shaking hands and dry mouths, becoming something they couldn't have predicted. You were one of them. You remember that bus. You remember those hands, the officer path. Not everyone takes the same road. Some of you leave the enlisted ranks and go to officer candidate school. Some of you come in straight from college with a commission and bars on your collar before you've ever heard a shot fired in anger. Let's talk about that path for a moment. Because it's not easier. It's just differently hard. Second lieutenant. You pin on your gold bars and feel 10 feet tall. And then your platoon sergeant, a man with 19 years in, 2 combat patches, and more experience in his left hand than you have in your entire life, looks at you with polite, patient professionalism, and you realize instantly, you are the least qualified person in your own platoon. The bars represent potential, not competence. Not yet. Your greatest skill right now is knowing enough to listen to your NCOs. Your greatest failure would be confusing your rank with your knowledge. The good ones learn this lesson fast. The ones who don't, their soldiers pay the price. You lead your first training exercise. It goes sideways. Your platoon sergeant quietly fixes what you broke and doesn't make you feel stupid about it. He just says, "Next time, sir, here's what to watch for." That man just gave you a gift that no classroom ever could. You spend your first year trying to earn trust that your rank cannot buy. Captain Company Command. This is the assignment every officer dreams of, and the one that most humbles them. You command 150 soldiers. You are responsible not just for their performance, but for their lives, for their families, for whether they come home. Every decision you make at the captain level is felt by human beings, not spreadsheets, not statistics. People. You make a call on a mission that goes wrong. No one dies, but it was close. And you stand at your desk at midnight, staring at a map, replaying every moment, asking yourself what you missed. You don't sleep. Not really. Not for weeks. But you learn. Painfully. Thoroughly. And you become a better officer because of that night, because leaders who never make mistakes in peace will shatter under pressure in war. The ones who can sit with failure, examine it, learn from it, not be destroyed by it, they're the ones worth following. Colonel, you command a brigade, thousands of soldiers. Your name is on the orders that move people across the world. Your signature closes chapters of people's lives. Deployments, promotions, reassignments, endings. You've been groomed for this, tested, evaluated, schooled, and still, the weight of it is different when it's real. The Army is not what it looked like from below. From the top, you see the machinery, the politics, the sacrifice that the institution sometimes asks for without saying please. You begin to feel the thing that every senior leader eventually feels, the tension between the mission and the men, between strategy and humanity. You can't always choose both, and choosing between them is the truest test of who you are. General 4 stars. You are one of the rarest human beings alive. The journey from private to general, from shaking hands on that bus to commanding entire armies, is measured not just in years but in losses. In marriages strained or broken, in children who grew up in your absence, in friends who didn't come home, in versions of yourself you left behind in countries whose names most people can't pronounce. You stand at a ceremony, medals across your chest, flags behind you, and somewhere in the crowd, you spot a young private, 18, maybe 19, Standing at attention, jaw tight, eyes forward, trying so hard to look like he belongs, he reminds you of someone. He reminds you of you. And everything, 20, 30, 40 years of it, comes back in a single breath. The bus, the screaming, the shaking hands, the cold and the heat and the grief and the pride. The deployment that cost you something you never fully named. The soldier who didn't make it. The ones who did. The families who waited. The ones who gave up waiting, the stripes and the bars and the stars and the sacrifices layered so deep they became the foundation of who you are. You don't feel like a general in this moment. You feel like that kid again. Here's the truth that nobody tells you when you sign that paper. The Army doesn't just train your body. It rewires your identity. It takes who you were and presses it through something so intense that what comes out on the other side is barely recognizable. And that's not a tragedy. That's the point. You will miss things. You will lose things. You will carry things that don't fit inside any bag and won't fit inside any conversation with someone who wasn't there. But you will also become someone that most people never get the chance to become. Someone who knows what they're made of. Not because they were told, but because they were tested, repeatedly, mercilessly, at every rank, at every level, in every country, every climate, every moment of doubt and exhaustion and fear. And there will come a day, maybe near the end, maybe long after, when someone asks you if it was worth it, you'll pause. Because the honest answer is complicated, but somewhere underneath all that complication, underneath the cost and the grief and the years that felt like they belonged to someone else, you'll find the answer. And it'll feel like standing on that graduation field again. Uniform pressed, chin up, for the very first time believing you belong somewhere. The bus pulled up at 4 in the morning. You didn't know who you were yet. Now you do.